So we just have a couple things that I want to try to accomplish with you tonight. I've got some general just reminders for you. We'll look at some of the upcoming or current assignments and just do kind of a brief, quick overview, and then I'll answer any questions that you have. And then finally, we're going to talk tonight about transformative leadership and what that looks like in action. So to get us started, what questions do you guys have about the assignments? Kind of follow chat as well, but it looks like I've kind of lost that. But it is. So everybody feels good about the assignments?
I think some of us might need to just talk about the midterm.
Okay.
Just to make sure it seems kind of simple, so I feel like I'm missing something.
It is fairly simple, quite honestly, and it was made to be that way. You know, based on some of the other work that I've had you guys doing, which was pretty intensive. I did try to simplify it a little bit. So
I did a newsletter with mine.
Do what? I'm sorry?
That's okay. I did a newsletter with mine.
That's perfect. Okay, so I just realized I have a wrong date in here. My apology on that.
Can you clarify what you mean by a newsletter? Like I guess I misread it. I thought I was just supposed to answer the questions.
Look, you see it?
Yeah, let me turn, sorry, I had editing on.
That's cute.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I did.
Sorry guys, like I said, my computer's just being difficult.
I'm kindergarten, so everything's colorful for me, sorry.
Okay, so let's talk about, sorry, it just keeps skipping all over the place. Okay, so, let me see here. Okay, so the assignment for the midterm, which by the way is also case study number 2. So a lot of people are like, I can't find case study number 2. Well, you had number 1, this one is number 2, and then technically the final exam would be number 3, okay? So it's pretty simple. Hang on, trying to get it open. There it goes. And then let me share this with you. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry, there's everything going. I swear Moodle hates me, it really does. Okay, let's see what you guys can see now. Of course, I can't see anything. Okay, so with that being said, all right, so here we go. You're going to create, now this is part of it's part 1 of the final exam. You're going to create, have we talked about this before? Refresh my memory. Is this all new? Am I even in the right course? So anyway, you're going to develop a professional learning community action plan. And, you know, again, this is just one of those options. You get to be really, really creative. And you're going to fill out the various information. So it's not terribly difficult. You're going to tell me, and if you want to keep building on what you did in the first case study. So let's say that I decided I was building a plan for my kindergarten team. So the PLC name would be the kindergarten team. You can make up the names of the leader and the members and the subject matter. Give me an objective. What is it that you hope to do with this team? Tell us something about where your PLC is. It's brand new, it's never been done before, or we're an intact team that has been working together 5 years. Just, you know, give me some background information. Then for your demographics, you're going to simply describe your team members. So it might be that there are 5 people on the team. Mrs. A has 5 years of teaching experience, all in kindergarten. Mr. B is a brand new teacher, whatever you want it to be. Like I said, there's not a right or wrong answer. I just want you to understand the process of pre-planning an effective professional learning community. And then data, again, you're making this up, guys, unless it's actually your team. And then I would use the information you know about your team because that will be helpful to you. So, you know, here's the strengths, here's the weaknesses, here's areas that we really want to focus on. Then you're going to write a SMART goal. And there's information posted in the course about how to write a SMART goal, including an exemplar. So you can easily reference that. But a SMART goal is pretty simple. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-oriented or tracked. So for, like I said, there's plenty of examples posted in the resources folder, but a SMART objective might be something like the kindergarten team at Johnson Elementary School will raise literacy achievement rates as measured on the district benchmark assessment by 10% within the next 3 months. Okay, so very specific. Can I measure it? Yes. Is it attainable to do 10% in 3 months? I would think so. And what's the time frame? 3 months. Okay, but like there's tons of examples. Then what are you going to do in that PLC? So, you know, I've given you a couple of examples here. So, you know, just tell us what actions the PLC is going to be doing. So we may have everybody do leadership profile assessments. We're going to do team building, whatever you think it is. And then what are the benchmarks? How are you going to evaluate the success? What kind of development does the team need? So maybe you need some help with developing norms or writing SMART goals. So whatever it is here that you think the team will benefit from in terms of professional development, okay? Respecting mechanism, excuse me. This is about the team's love language. And again, if you know the team, you can guess kind of at what you think their love language is. If it's a made-up team, you can make up what their love languages are. So maybe, for example, I know on my kindergarten team, there's 5 people. 2 of them really like words of affirmation. 2 of them really like physical touch. And 1 of them likes gifts. So maybe for the person whose love language is receiving gifts, I might buy them or give them just a little, you know, little thing of candy that says, you know, hey, we value and appreciate you. For the people who are physical touch, I'm going to try to remember to high five them or whatever. And then for the people who like affirmative words of affirmation, you know, I'm going to remember to praise them during the PLC. Coaching questions. So give me some examples. It only has to be 1 to 3 of a coaching style question. So an example of a coaching question might be something like, what do you think will happen if we do not meet our 10% literacy goal? What might be the outcome if we don't meet it? That's an example of a coaching question. Post-event follow-up. So just tell me how you're going to actually communicate after the fact. So maybe you're going to send a newsletter. You're maybe going to, I don't know, do a video, something like that. Then any resources you're going to need to help you. Then you're going to do an actual very short agenda. So it's, for example, or excuse me, the things you're going to need to do to prepare. So for example, I might need to put together my agenda. I might need to gather some data sources, that kind of thing. Then if you know that you're going to need some items, then you can just list those. So that might be something as simple as refreshments or unique curriculum guides or whatever. List the norms that you think are important. So if you're not familiar with norms, you can just do a simple Google search on that. Then you're going to actually create a very short schedule. So for example, my kindergarten team, PLC is going to meet the first time on August the 9th and then the second time on August the 16th. And here's what we're going to do. You only have to have 3 to 5 dates or major topics, I guess would be the better term. then tell me what you're going to do to determine if your PLC was effective. And that can be easily tied back up here to your SMART goals and to your objective. So how do you know if it was effective? Well, when we took the district level benchmark, our students' literacy rates in kindergarten grew by 15%, exceeding our goal of 10% by 5 points. Kind of make sense? Okay, now that's what's posted in, that's what actually is posted in the module 5, okay? Now I'm gonna try to share my screen again here. There we go, okay? So that's from module 5. Any questions about what we have? Sorry, I'm waiting for my computer to catch up here. From module 4. Okay, here's your midterm. Very, very, very simple. And all you have to do is do either, like I said, you're going to use a graphic organizer, an informational page, a picture, a video, a newsletter, a one-pager, whatever you want to do to answer those 5 questions. Okay? So pretty simple. I'm assuming everybody knows what a graphic organizer is. If not, again, you can just do a simple Google search and you get tons and tons and tons of information. And I think somebody posted a copy of their one-page newsletter, which is really cool. Love that. Okay. So questions, comments, concerns about any of that?
Professor
Yeah.
Johnson,
Yes, go ahead.
the thing that you were just looking at, that professional learning committee, that plan, is that the final?
Part 1 of the final.
Part 1 of it. Okay, thank you.
Yes. And then I did go ahead, guys. Hang on, let me put this in the chat room for graphic. If you're not familiar with thinking maps, it's also an excellent, excellent tool to use with students, as well as they have tons of really good graphic organizers. I've been thinking maps or graphic organizers. If you remember way back from math, Venn diagrams, all that kind of stuff, those are all graphic organizers. Flow charts, just a way to kind of quickly capture what you're trying to do to answer these 5 questions on the midterm. Okay. All right, so I did go ahead and open up module 6, week 6 for you. It's low here. So, I have really devastating news for you. You do have to do the SMART goals. That's part of your final exam. And look at this real quickly. And we'll go over this more in depth next week. But you can see, here's your assignment. You're going to create a SMART goal for your students and a SMART goal for the staff. So that means you only have to create 2 SMART goals. Okay? And then, hang on, let me see if I can share this with you guys. Okay, there we go. Okay, so these are the SMART goals. And as you can see, you're going to download and use the SMART goal assignment document. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, if you want extra credit points, you can also read the article called Goal Setting with Your Students. It's in the Resources and Documents folder, and just write a goal for this student. And I'll get you 5 extra points on your on this assignment. Okay. Okay. And then let me go back to where we were. Hang on, let me share again one more time. Okay, so that's what is in module 6 for your assignments. And the template's loaded there for you. Okay. So you're going to watch 2 videos. You're going to do the SMART goals. That is all you have to do for next week. You do not have a reflective essay or a discussion board, just this one assignment. Then in module 7, like I said, I did go ahead and open up the entire module for you. And so you're going to do a quick discussion forum. There's some really hard questions that I'm sure you guys have struggled tremendously with. But there's 3 questions there. And then obviously we don't have a Zoom meeting, and here is your final exam. Okay. And so you're going to do a PowerPoint, a video, or a paper, just basically summarizing everything you've learned in this course. So you should make sure and address the following statements. There are 10, excuse me, my dogs are going to, of course, decide to fight and play. Come here, Lucy. Stop. Leave Trish alone. I have a 2-year-old collie and a 16-year-old, almost 17-year-old poodle. And the collie likes to pick on the 17-year-old poodle, who gets really mad and sounds like she's going to attack, which is funny because she has no teeth hardly left. But anyway, so you could do I know, Lucy, you don't like me holding your collar. Stop. You can do a PowerPoint, which is at least 10 slides. You can do a video, or you can do a formal paper. And guys, this is not, I mean, I'm not saying it's not rigorous, because I think there's some merit in this, but don't stress out about the final exam. Like I said, I'm really just interested in your responses to the questions, okay? So, you know, please don't send me a dissertation. Don't send me a 40 slide PowerPoint. 10 slides at the, you know, is basically the right amount. You know, I say the video 5 to 15 minutes. I think I'm going to change that to 3 to 5. 15 minutes is a really long video for you to have to come through. Okay. So that will then finish out the course. Any questions, comments, or concerns about any of that part of this? Like I said, hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory. All right, awesome. So just a couple of reminders. Like I said, weeks 6 and 7 are open. If you want to go ahead and barrel through, because you know school's about to start, you know, and have a marathon weekend and do it all, that's fine. I removed all the restrictions as far as when you can actually start posting your assignments. So hopefully you're good to go on that part. Also, next week will be our final Zoom meeting. I'm not going to introduce much new content at that point. It's really more a matter of wrapping up. So it generally doesn't last the full hour unless you guys just have tons of questions. I think I've gotten stuff graded pretty much for y'all. I think I'm pretty caught up. There may be a couple things outstanding. But if for some reason, some of you guys have had a hard time getting stuff to upload, because like I said, all these new upgrades that we've made to Moodle have caused me some grief on the instructor side of things. You're always welcome to email me if you can't get it to upload, or if you're not sure about it, just email it to me, and you know, I'll be happy to grade that way. And I still will make the offer if you're feeling really unsure about an assignment and you'd like some feedback before you submit. You're welcome to email that to me. My turnaround time right now is, I say 1 to 3 business days, but I'm running about 1.5 days is generally what it's kind of taking me. Okay. Okay, are we all good on this? Awesome. Okay, let's look at the PowerPoint tonight. And I don't know what is going on with my computer, because for some weird reason, if I put it in actual slideshow mode, all my screens go blank. So I've got a glitch with PowerPoint. So it's going to look a little bit weird, but at least we can get through it tonight. Okay, so we've learned a bunch of stuff about professional learning communities, what they can do, how they can be used and leveraged, etc. But I really want to talk about how a PLC can really lead the transformation of a school. And I will tell you, I do have permission, but I attended a really awesome event a couple years ago, put on by Scholastic and the International Center for Leadership and Education, those two highly respected educational institutions. And so I wanted to share some of the stuff that they talked about and I learned from this particular event. So we know that a PLC is a group of people who share a concern, a set of problems, or have a passion about a topic, and they want to deepen their knowledge and expertise in this area by interacting on an ongoing basis. So, you know, professional learning communities really can and should exist across the spectrum of careers and businesses. So it's not just a tool that can be used in education, although that's where it sort of originated, but it is a tool that's used, like I said, in other, you know, other businesses, et cetera. So for example, Richard Elmore, who is a Harvard education professor, he works here in the graduate school. He kind of took the professional learning community idea and applied it using the medical equivalent, which is rounds. So, you know, when a resident is, you know, working in medical school and all, they will go in groups and they will, you know, look at a patient, talk to a patient, do an examination, look at all of the lab results, which is their data, etc. And then they talk about the problem and come up with the best course of treatment for a particular patient. So Richard Elmore took that idea as well as the professional learning community, and he created something called instructional rounds. And so if you think about how that works in medical school and use that same premise when we're talking about education, it's kind of the same idea. So it's a group of people, they identify or examine a particular problem or issue, they look at the available data, and then they come up with a viable solution using everyone's ideas and input. So that's how professional learning communities have kind of morphed from when Dufour first started this back in 1998 to 2020. That it is, like I said, it's still there, the foundation's there, but it's begun to grow. The other thing that is really important that we have to understand that there is a difference between what happens in a PLC in terms of discussion versus discourse. So I want you to think for just a minute about those two words, and then I'll either call on you guys shamelessly or maybe I'll get a volunteer. But tell me what you think the difference is between discussion and discourse. Any ideas? You too, hush. Like I said, I will call on you. So somebody volunteer. Okay, Casey, you look particularly thoughtful. Why don't you tell us what you think? So unmute and tell us.
I guess in my mind, like I'm thinking of discourse being a little bit formal, like more of a back preset about a particular topic, but like where a discussion could lead to like a further detail versus I don't know.
I think almost like a discourse is planned.
Okay.
Discourse is planned.
You're absolutely on the right track. Hang on. Sorry, I'm gonna have to maybe shut these out of here in a minute. You're absolutely on the right track. And probably the main difference, I think I heard somebody say, discourse is really more planned, whereas discussion sort of initiates itself organically, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Okay.
It goes with the flow.
Yeah, yeah. It just sort of goes with the flow, starts maybe with a question that comes up in a professional learning community, and everybody throws in their 2 cents about that. Discourse is more planned. And in a truly effective PLC, you want to have a balance of both, okay? So, you know, what I used to do when I was getting ready to lead a PLC, I would come up with a list of questions or things that we really needed to have some discourse about. And that usually meant there were parameters around it. So for example, if you're familiar with the work of Heidi Hayes Jacobs, who is one of the most well-known and respected curriculum gurus in education, she talks a lot about the power of essential questions. So it's kind of that same idea that if you're going to have true discourse in your professional learning community, you want to make sure that you have some essential questions that are going to be answered and discussed in your professional learning community. And remember, D4 gives us those questions. So, you know, what do we need to look at and teach? How are we going to do it? How are we going to know if it's successful, etc. Okay. The other part of it too, hang on one sec, why is it not advancing? Advance. Sorry, there we go. We also have to know too that there is within the school, there are a million different systems, processes, groups, committees, you name it. But at the core of everything we should be doing in a professional learning community is student achievement. To achieve the highest levels of student achievement, we have to be effective in the way that we deliver instruction. In order to deliver instruction effectively and lead to that high level of student achievement, there has to be 3 basic things that are in place. If those 3 things are lacking, it makes it extremely difficult to improve or to even sustain high levels of student achievement. And the way that we do that is to really focus on the people and their skill sets within each one of those 3 quadrants. So you have to have organizational leadership, okay? So, you know, oftentimes I think schools, particularly in this day and age, we get really hung up on instruction. And don't get me wrong, that's where the focus should be. But if you've ever been in an organization or worked in a school that was not very well organized, you can certainly appreciate how important organizational leadership is. So there has to be, as a part of that organizational leadership, systems and structures that allow people to teach effectively as well as to plan for effective instruction and to use data to drive that instruction. The second part of it is you do have to have strong instructional leadership. It's very hard to be in a school where you have leaders who don't really understand effective instruction. And when that occurs, we miss all kinds of opportunities for in-the-moment professional development, in-the-moment coaching, for guidance and direction. And then, as I've always said, the most important thing from the perspective of campus leadership is the teaching that happens. We have to have the best teachers we can possibly have in our schools in front of our students every single day. In fact, there's been a lot of research around teacher effectiveness and how it impacts student achievement. And one of those pieces of research, it was actually done by Dr. I'm going to forget his name now, Dr. Bob, and I can't think of his last name. It'll come to me. Weird. He talks about that they tracked students who had an ineffective teacher over the course of 1 school year, then they compared it to 2 school years, etc. Students who have an ineffective teacher for 1 single year will lose anywhere between 1 to 3 grade levels of achievement. If a student has an ineffective teacher for 2 years, they lose between 5 and 8 years of achievement. If in the course of their school careers they have 3 years of an ineffective teacher, they will never recover. And they have a dropout rate of upwards of 80%. So we know that we have to invest time, support, development, and all of those things into our teachers so that they can be the best they can possibly be. Because like I said, literally our student success for life is at stake. So, you know, as a principal, people used to ask me all the time, did I have a problem firing people? Because I did fire a few people over the course of my career. And yes, it was hard. It's never an easy decision, you know, because I know that affects people's, you know, incomes and families and all of that. But at the same time, I always had to remind myself that if I did not fire the teacher who had a degree, had the ability to go out and get another job, I could be dooming a child for generations. I could be dooming an entire family for generations, particularly when you work in a high-need school. So it's really critical that we focus on teaching, put the best people in front of our students as we can, and develop and support them along the way. So what are some of those best practices? We talked a lot about this. There has to be a shared common vision. You really have to be all about results. There should be collaboration. There should be support. We're not there just to talk about things. We're also there to create actions so that we can impact our students in the best way possible. And there also has to be collective inquiry. So it's not just one person coming in and sharing all the answers. It's really more about everybody generating the best questions that they can so that those can become the heart and soul of our professional learning community. So what is the outcome of an effective learning community? Well, for our teachers, it decreases isolation. It shows that there is a shared commitment. There becomes collective responsibility. And in schools that have effective professional learning communities, they always have higher morale rates as well as a really strong culture and climate within their schools. For our students, when it works well, we see that the students have better understanding. It decreases those achievement gaps, decreases absenteeism, and as we all hope to do, it will increase our students' outcomes. Okay? So, I'm not going to walk you through all of these tonight, but it's pretty simple how we go about establishing a learning community. It is a cycle. So first we plan, then we collaborate, then we share, then we meet, and we just keep doing that over and over again. And as we talked about, what are those essential questions that need to be asked in a PLC? You've heard these many times before, so I'm not going to read those to you. So a logic train is one way to address a professional learning community. So it's the whole idea of going back here to the planning, collaborating, sharing, and meeting process. And think about how you're going to weave in these questions throughout your professional learning community. Okay. Now let's talk about relationships. We all know that when you're in a school that has a great culture and climate, you don't want to leave that school. You're in a great place. So I'm going to give you an example. So there was a school, this is loosely based on real life. There was a school in my community that had some very serious things happen involving a teacher, to the point that law enforcement became heavily involved. And I remember thinking when I was reading about this in the news and seeing it on the TV and attending some of the community meetings and parent meetings, etc., that the principal seemed to be very absent from this issue. And what I mean by that was everybody else was talking about it and what was being done to address this issue, including the superintendent, including other business and community leaders, law enforcement leadership, consultants, but I never saw the principal. And I thought, well, no wonder this is going on, because you don't have a real leader of this school. And they've not created the kind of supportive environment that needs to happen to really make the community feel like these concerns and issues were actually being addressed. So fast forward about a year, they replaced the principal. And every single school event that I went to, that principal was there, highly, highly visible, great about communicating, obviously very supportive of the teachers and the students. And so the school's culture and climate changed absolutely 1,000% just with that change in leadership. Leaders have such a huge responsibility, but if they will do these things that are critical, it will not only lead to organizational trust, but it will also lead to relational trust, which needs to happen within a school. So whether you're talking about the instructional environment or the organizational environment, there has to be good communication. There has to be availability of resources. There must be support. There has to be respect and trust. And most of all, we need to create time to address each one of these issues. You also do the same thing within your PLC. Okay? So again, I'm not going to walk you through all that. We just kind of touched on it. So we also know sometimes that there can be barriers to creating that supportive structure in our building. Barriers can be any number of things, from lack of leadership, lack of knowledge, inadequate resources, etc. However, we can overcome all of that when we understand how to effectively collaborate. So when we're thinking about working in a PLC, this might be some norms. So if you're thinking about that assignment that I showed you today, where you have to create a PLC plan and you have to come up with the norms, these are some great norms that you may want to look at. So being willing to pause and think for a minute before responding, to paraphrase, to probe, to pay attention, and to really presume a positive attitude and attention to the task at hand. So again, I'm not going to go through each one of these in detail, because you guys can certainly read, and for the sake of time, but you'll notice that for those 7 norms that are listed in here, there are specific directions on how to actually do those. And if I were leading a PLC, we would spend some time in one of our PLC meetings establishing our norms and then defining what that means and what it looks like in action. So you can see, again, you've got paraphrasing, we can see probing questions, we can see what it looks like to put ideas on the table. And again, when you're also going back to your assignment, if you're looking for some coaching questions, guess what? They're right all in here for you. How do we pay attention effectively? How do we presume positive intentions? How do we want to get to the balance? Okay. So we know, I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Daggett. He's one of my favorite educators. Bill Daggett had created that whole, I don't know if you guys have heard of the 3 R's: rigor, relevance, relationships for effective schools. Bill Daggett created all that. And what's really kind of cool about it, he's always really cutting edge. And so, like I said, if you don't know who he is, just, Google and search his name, Bill Daggett. Has some really cool resources that I think you guys would enjoy. In fact, we use his stuff a lot when I teach curriculum. So what do we have to do? We have to make sure that we understand and share the benefits of the PLC, that we prepare for PLCs through through discourse, and that we allow time for discussion. We also have to know what those barriers are so that we can do everything we can to remove the barriers and create that supportive environment that everybody needs. And then we know that we have to have norms so that we can make sure that everybody really understands what is supposed to be happening within our professional communities. So when we do that, it goes back to the whole idea of leadership, leadership, leadership. And leadership starts at the top, in a school with the principal, on into the assistant or vice principals, teacher leaders, and teachers as well. Everyone has a very important role in a professional learning community. And if we can follow these pretty basic principles, then our professional learning community has a much better chance of succeeding effectively. Okay. Oh, yeah. There's actually 2 people that did, like I said, Dr. Bob Weir is one of them. I'm not sure he's still around. And as soon as I think of it, I'll type it in. And then there's also Bill Daggett, another good one to know. Any other questions that you guys have? Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Okay, I'm pretty sure I didn't do such an amazing job of teaching that y'all have no questions, but that's okay. Let's see, do I want a reference page for the midterm? No, you don't have to do that. Let's see. Okay. Yes, and I am recording, so I'll try. I don't know what they they've upgraded YouTube as well. So it used to take me about 10 minutes to upload and get a video ready to publish. Now it takes about 30 to 45 minutes. So I'll get it up sometime this evening though, for sure. Anything else? Going once, going twice? Only 2 more weeks of class, yay!
Can you verify exactly what's due so we have a timeline? Because school starts tomorrow, face-to-face for me, and I have been completely overwhelmed.
I cannot even imagine. Gosh, bless you. All right, so let me go back real quick here to the course, just so I can show you guys. It's a little bit easier that way. Okay, so let's start with week 4. No, week 5. Sorry, I'm trying to push y'all back a week. Okay, so in week 5, you've got a discussion forum due this coming Sunday. Then you have the case study. And I did not realize I hadn't updated this date. I'll do that tonight. It should be August 22nd, 2020. So your case study number 3, there's a couple of parts to it. Part 1 is due the last day of class, which is Saturday, the 22nd. In week 6, you're going to have your SMART goals assignment. It's going to be due, and that is due again. From now on, everything is due by the last day of class. And then in module 7, the only thing you have is a very quick little short discussion forum and the final exam. And like I said, from this point forward, everything is due the last day of a class, which please note is a Saturday.
What about the midterm?
Well, it's technically due this coming Sunday, but just get it to me when you can. Like I said, I'm pretty forgiving about all of that right now. Okay.
So we have the midterm, which is also considered case study number 2. We also have a discussion forum this week.
This week in week 5?
Yes.
Yes, you do. It's really short.
And do we have to respond to?
I think I changed it. Let me make sure before I say that I did. Hang on.
I think it's 2.
Yeah, I think I reduced it down to 2.
Okay.
That still says 3, but I'm gonna reduce it to 2.
Okay, and then we have the SMART goal, week 6.
Yes.
Case study number 3. And then the discussion forum and final exam lastly.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I tell everybody, try not to get behind because it will snowball on you. You know, it starts off pretty slow and easy, and then like in the middle of the 7 weeks, you get hit with a bunch. So if you can avoid getting behind, that's just better for you. Because if you don't, you're going to really have a lot.
Yeah, I agree. No, I'm not behind. It's just that there is so much going on now between this. We've social distanced all the desks 6 feet apart. We've made extra classes. We have station class and a partridge in a pear tree. I'm done.
Tracy, don't feel bad. I had to take a moving truck and clean my entire classroom out last year after 6 years of stuff. So I understand.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Ida, that's awful. Well, I know, I mean, it's not the same because we're dealing with grown-up children at LSUS, but we had to reduce all of our face-to-face class sizes by 50% so we could do the social distancing. And as an advisor, I'm already running, I have no place to advise students to take as far as classes because all my seats are gone now. And, you know, the students are like getting really frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm like, you know, it's been so ridiculous. And they built these like plexiglass like screens that the professor has to now stand behind to teach their class. And I'm sitting here thinking, when I teach, I move, you know, you know, I'm a K-12 educator, and, you know, I've got to be looking over the students' shoulders, and they're in groups, and I'm just thinking, I can't teach like this. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Stay in one spot.
Yeah, that is so not me.
No, we can't move, and we have 1,200 kids, so.
Oh my gosh. It's
going to be, we'll see.
Yeah. What a crazy time we're living in.
I know. This is my 18th year teaching, and I've never been more stressed out, ever.
Like I said, I really, truly, my heart breaks for you guys. I cannot even imagine, what you guys are facing. I know how difficult it's been just, in higher ed. And things change every other day. You think you're going right, and then they're like, no, we're going completely left. But like I said, we have the luxury of we're dealing with older students. I cannot imagine what you guys are facing in the pre-K-12 schools. And I'm really, truly thankful that I retired when I did and I wasn't having to figure all this out and lead it anymore. I'm way too old to do that. But just know there's a lot of people out there praying for you guys and wishing you well. You truly, I hope that society has finally woken up and realized how very valuable teachers are. Sending kids home with their parents for home learning. I think a newer appreciation has come for what's going on. Okay, anything else, guys? Well, since you guys are getting ready for school to open and all of that, just know that the final assignments are not nearly as taxing and as hard as some of the others that we've done. So even though it may seem overwhelming, like I'm looking at the discussion forums and stuff for like week 7. I mean, they're really simple, guys, because I do get it. So, and if you struggle getting things done, just let me know. We'll work it out. Because at the end, I want everybody to finish and be successful. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to give you 6 minutes of your life back tonight. Y'all have a great evening, and we will talk to you next week. 2 more weeks and we're done. Yay. Y'all have a good night. Bye.
Thank you.